Okay, so an update on the plant tank. So I know that this looks kind of gross. I mean, yeah, it does, right? um, I went on a trip and came back to quite the hair algae bloom. But so I tested the water, and this is perfect. Like water quality wise, I tested my water. I have zero nitrites, and then my nitrates are actually exactly where I want them, which is like right around that, well, pretty low. They're actually a little bit lower than I would like. But, um, once I start feeding fish and stuff, right now there's just a few snails in here, some narite snails. But, water quality wise, this is actually perfect. So I am going to do something about the hair algae just to kind of clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to get the brown out, the diatom algae and the hair algae, all that off, dust algae off the glass, off the front. But I'm not really too worried about having some, I mean, I am going to do something to clean this up. It's actually easier than it looks to clean this stuff up. You just kind of yank it out, and then, but I'm going to put shrimp in, and shrimp actually really like to eat this stuff. So they're going to be the cleanup crew that really takes care of this stuff long term. And then I ended up putting a hang on the back filter back here. And you'll see once I start to clean it up a little bit, it's covered the uptake, the sponge uptake for the hang on the back is covered in algae. So, and like biofilm and stuff. So this is actually, shrimp are going to be super happy when I put them in here. They're going to have tons of food to eat, lots of hiding places, and also I'm not going to stock it with fish just yet. I'm just going to put in some shrimp, maybe an autosynclus, maybe like a cory or something like that. But the shrimp definitely first. So I'll show you how I like to clean up hair algae real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to take an old used up toothbrush and then just kind of grab some of this stuff and then pull it out. And I'm going to try not to pull up any plants, or like if I have like I see some Busphalandra that came out of its little spot. Like a lot of this stuff, I had it kind of in little spots where it could hang on to some rocks or something, and get a little bit of current. But the problem with that too is that it can come loose and kind of float away. So, but like I know this looks totally gross, but the plants are healthy. Everything is doing, the only stuff that isn't really doing too like isn't really putting on a whole lot of new growth is this stuff back here, this kind of wispy grass stuff. It's just not, it's still, it's alive. It actually doesn't look too bad. That's not true. It doesn't look too bad. It's just got a lot of hair algae on it. And it actually, okay, yeah, it's putting out some new little rhizomes, some new little shoots back here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through this, clean up the hair algae, scrape the stuff off the front of the glass, and then I'm gonna go and buy some shrimp. Go ahead and start stocking with some shrimp. Okay, so I went to the aquascaping store, and I had to get a couple little plants, but I got a bunch of shrimp. I got 12 Blue Dream Neocaridina, and they're just my favorite. And I'm trying to get a good colony of them going somewhere. If that's in here, if that's in here, I've just been setting up a shrimp breeder, like an actual like shrimp breeder, a Taiwan style shrimp breeder. Uh, it doesn't matter, wherever I can get them going. And then I got a few autosynchronous too. So the autosynchronous, they're fine. Like they can just kind of get used to come up to temperature. But the Neocaridina are going to get a little bit more special treatment. I'm going to drip acclimate them. So basically all that means is that you just take like a little one of these, this little like twisty airline things, and then you set it up so that it drips very gradually. And then I have just a measuring cup on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let these guys just sit in here, right? And come up to temperature, but also, since they're way more sensitive to like water parameters, like pH, water hardness, temperature, like all that stuff, like if you get a very quick temperature change, you can shock them into molting. This is way more important if you're getting stuff shipped to you from like Taiwan or whatever. But still, Neocaridina they're hardier than most, but they're still gonna get a little bit special treatment. So this is just set up so that it's like slightly below the water line here, so that if I put a line in there and it drips into here, then it's just going to very gradually fill up and equalize, like get to the same level. So I'm just gonna stick one in here, and then all right, so just another quick little update. I know it still looks like dog shit, right? But so everybody's in, got all of the little shrimps in. They are pretty active. Like I noticed that, I didn't clean all this. There was a whole bunch of like biofilm stuff, and algae that was right here on the glass. And I kind of cleaned down to here, and they just went along and cleaned up everything on the glass. And you can see, there's some little shrimp, like there's some more over here, and they're just kind of hanging out, like doing their thing, the cleanup crew. And it's not like they're gonna eat more than their body weight in algae every day, but they are just constantly, they like hair algae, and they like brown, like they like diatom algae, they like to eat that stuff. And so do the autosynchronous. So now that they're in here, and there's nothing like picking on them, there's no reason for them to be hiding. They're kind of out and pretty active. I did notice one weird thing. My little nerite snails are burrowing in the substrate, and I didn't know that they did that. Apparently, like some people say they're even nocturnal, and then they mostly come out at night and go scoot along the glass, like that's their favorite place to eat. But apparently they like to burrow in the substrate. But it looks like my Monte Carlo, like you can see all of the Monte Carlo and then the dwarf baby tears and all that stuff. It's all got roots down. And they're like bright green, so that means they're healthy. That means they're putting out new roots. I'm sorry, new leaves and stuff. You can see this stuff that's kind of like detached and floating. It has yellow leaves. So yellow leaves, bad. Bright green, new leaves, good. But I'm gonna just, it's only been like a day since all the shrimp were introduced in the autosynchronous. So they're just gonna keep doing their thing and cleaning. And then I'm gonna do another update in right at a month, and we're gonna see what everything looks like right at a month. Okay, so time for the 1 month update. All right, a lot to say about this tank, right? Um, the good, the bad, the ugly. The ugly, the algae. Man, this, I have never, ever had a diatom algae infestation like this before. Um, okay, so what are my theories on why I've had this massive algae bloom, right? So first off, what I was doing when I was starting the tank was I was taking water change water from like other tanks that had high nitrates in it. Just doing just regular water change stuff, right? Like I typically do, I don't know, like maybe a 20% water change on a lot of my tanks, like every week or two, right? Um, and then that's enough, for me. Um, so then I started this guy with water change water, and I was just kind of letting it do its thing. It was taking a long time to cycle. So, I popped in the hang on the back filter with some cycled media, and um, and then I came back and I had this massive. The water was all cycled, everything was cycled, and there was this massive diatom algae explosion, right? So pretty much everything in here, aside from the little white clouds, these guys, the minnows, um, likes to eat algae, right? Like you can see the there's shrimp everywhere. The autos, like they're just kind of hanging out on it, eating the stuff. And I mean, this is one of their favorite foods, especially autos. Autos love. I mean, like I've kept them in other tanks before, and then I had some stuff in here that was like little pieces of Bucephalandra or something, and like a chunk of Java moss that was tied to like a lava rock, and I would take it out of here and put it into the other tank that had, an auto or more shrimp in it. And then I would look at it later and it was just clean. They had eaten they prefer this type of algae over other type of stuff to eat. Shrimp and autos, like they both like to eat this stuff. So that's good, right? Another good thing, I found one dead shrimp. Just one so far. I stocked this thing with, so there's 5 white cloud minnows in here that have been breeding in other tanks, and there's fry all over. There's fry in like 2 different tanks right now, so they've just been breeding like crazy. And I stocked it with, it has 4 autosynclus in it right now, and I don't want to put any more in because I figure if they do eat all this algae and get it under control, I don't want them to run out of food. I could possibly stock more. I have seen buried females. Or shrimp. I have seen buried females. That's not one of them, but there's, I have seen shrimp that are kind of covered in eggs. So I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a shrimp population explosion. I'm not sure why the one shrimp died. But yeah, so the good news is that, everybody in here seems happy and healthy. It's just ugly, like all of the diatoms, like the hang on the back has, the uptake is just covered in the stuff, which I think is gross, but then everybody kind of hangs out on it. Like you can see the auto and then there's shrimp just kind of hanging out on it, just grazing. They like to eat that stuff. So I'm hoping that it gets under control. I'm hoping that this is just the ugly phase of the tank. And that, as the stuff down here, like as the micranthemum, as the Cuba and the Monte Carlo and the repens, the short, like carpeting stuff starts to come in, that is going to sort of suck up a lot more of the nutrients, and then like I've heard that diatoms, like, it's just a phase. It's like this happens, at like the 1 month mark when your tank gets colonized by diatoms, and then it just kind of has to go through that ugly phase until other types of algae can colonize the tank, like the green, kind of like carpet algae, like the and I like that stuff. I like green, carpet algae. So if I get green carpet algae, I mean, it's almost as good as like Monte Carlo and stuff like that to me. I like this stuff. So I have had to pull out almost every moss, every type of moss that was in here. In fact, I don't know if there's any left because the diatoms were just covering it and like choking it so that it couldn't do it, couldn't do its thing. And the shrimp and like everybody was just kind of ignoring it. The ottos like to munch on like big leaves, not eat them, but they like to sit on top of them and in the glass and stuff like that. And then the snails, like they like to do that too. The nerites, like there's one kind of hiding right there. They're pretty nocturnal. They don't like a lot of light. They prefer to kind of hide, during the day and then come out at night and do their thing. They have been burrowing in the substrate. So I've seen like plants where it looks like they've kind of pushed plants up because I see healthy roots. It's not like the plants are melting. Pretty much all the plants seem healthy, but I've seen them uprooted. So, and I think it was the nerites that kind of pushed them out. But, I'm hoping that this is just the ugly phase. I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a shrimp population explosion. And I hope that just kind of gets everything under control. And then I'm expecting these guys to breed some more because they've been doing it everywhere else that they've been living. So that's the 1-month update. It's a little ugly right now. Would I do the undergravel filter with the bubblers in there? That's another one of my theories about where all the algae is coming from, because typically, in my experience, air stones mean algae. It just like, like the more air kind of bubbling that you have in the tank, the more algae you get. And then the kitty litter stuff is just covered in dust. So that's like the perfect environment to get this algae, diatom explosion. And then it had a lot of dirty water to kind of, chew on and stuff. But I've tested this water, and this water is like, the quality's perfect now. So, and then this light, I think that this light might be a little bit too powerful. Like I'm considering either turning down the power or just, I'm even thinking like next time I leave town, I'm just going to leave it off and then see if I come back and see if the diatoms are under control. But yeah, so that's the update. Kind of ugly at the moment, but all the plants seem really healthy. All the everything living in here seems pretty healthy. And it's also just very kind of low maintenance aside from pulling out algae, because everybody eats this stuff and then it keeps growing and then they keep eating it. So anyways, yeah, I'll post another update later and we'll see if I can get the diatoms under control. One thing about the hang on the back. So, I think that a canister filter for a 20-gallon is complete overkill, but it's way nicer looking than having something like that just hanging out the back of the tank. I've had to put media into here, like when the tank was taking forever to cycle, and then I popped some cycled media into the hang on the back, and it cycled pretty quickly, but then I had an algae explosion, and then I started to get fish tank smell, so I put some charcoal in there, And then I thought, well, maybe if I put something in to kind of absorb some of the phosphates and the silicates, that'll help control the diatoms. So I don't think that I would try to just do the undergravel by itself. It needs something else. And the hang on the back is kind of ugly. So I'm considering doing something else, like either putting in some little tiny power heads in here or, doing a canister. But yeah, so that's this tank. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.